Kia ora, and welcome to Chapter 29, the penultimate chapter in this resource, and the resource is entitled The Future of Learning. And what we've been talking about in the previous chapter is how we've taken our ability to recognise patterns and understand how to form ideas and concepts, and because that's so equitable, we can actually have most students, or most learner educators, track through the process at about the same speed as each other. There's no big distribution curve. Historically we've had this sort of distribution curve. We want to compress that and push it to this end and do this. We want it to come down as much as possible on itself. And so we're researching, and the learners are researching, increasingly using a mix of reading and writing, as well as viewing and producing, as well as actually looking at diagrams and how they all form together and how we actually meld diagrams together to actually show the relationship between those variables. So in this process, we've already talked about the 7 domains that we have with our curriculum areas, but also we've applied the same process to the starting out through to the predicting with confidence for the competencies. So we've taken each of the competencies: identity, thinking and questioning, managing self, collaboration, connecting and reflecting, and having a language of learning. And we've unpacked each of those once again into their concept frameworks. Then we've unpacked each concept framework into a series of 5 concepts, sequential concepts, which build on each other. And so when we start with a new concept, so if we're moving from starting out to building confidence, we need to remind the learners of what they learnt with starting out for that concept framework. And then we build on that with the next one. And when we get to connecting, our 3rd one in the series, we're going to go back to building confidence and we're going to go back to starting out, just to make sure they understand the sequence they're learning in. Because one of the competencies, of course, is connecting their new learning to their previous learning. And we have to do that explicitly. So if the educator takes that introductory session, then they have to do that. If the learner educators take that session, then they have to do that. You have to connect the new learning to the existing learning that we've already done. And there may be some filling in there or reminding that might be necessary, because you'll have ebb and flow of learners coming into the school and exiting the school, and so you'll need to actually do that each time. Sometimes we see educators, kids get so excited about this that they start with starting out and they want to go straight into building with their confidence, and they want to go straight into connecting that to their understanding. And so they may do 3 of these in succession. How you use this resource is entirely up to you. Right? What we do not want is everybody copying a particular school or a group of schools. We want each school to experiment with the ideas we're pushing forward and the concepts that we're pushing forward here, and see what works for them. Right? Once again, I sort of mentioned this earlier, these ideas weren't handed down on a stone tablet. They're ideas and concepts that we'd like to introduce and have you as the educators, you're the professionals, to experiment with them and then iterate them to suit your particular environment and culture that you're working in. Right? So we do not want clones here. We just simply don't want that. Variation is what allowed us as a species to change over periods of time and adapt to our world. And we must keep that adaptation going. So have a look at the competencies and the unpacking. We've done identity as the sample one there. There's 3 or 4 grids there. But what you'll notice is different with the competencies is that after the learning intention, we basically say, rightio, we'd like you then to look at 2 other aspects. All right? And so the 2 other layers that sit under the competencies allow us to actually assess the competencies, because we haven't got much history of assessing competency. Right? So we've given you some guidelines there sitting underneath with the 2 extra rows there sitting underneath the concept and the learning intention. So have a look at those, see how we've unpacked that, and we will see you soon for the final video in this series of 30 videos. Thank you very much.